Fairy tales bring to mind magical lands and happily ever afters, but did you know many of Disney's most beloved films, like Snow White, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty, were inspired by the darker, unsettling stories collected by the Brothers Grimm? These tales had to be reworked to become the child-friendly versions we know today. But not all Grimm stories could be softened for the silver screen. Some were so twisted and horrifying that even Disney wouldn't dare touch them. These tales delve into the truly nightmarish, filled with murder, cannibalism, and worse. You might be shocked to discover just how gruesome some of these so-called fairy tales really are. In this video, we'll explore the top 10 nightmare-inducing stories collected by Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm. Let's dive in. Our first story is one of blood, betrayal, and a grotesque twist. Fitcher's bird tells of a sinister sorcerer who abducts young women, taking them to his home to marry them. But first, he tests their obedience. He gives each woman an egg and forbids them from entering a specific room. Inevitably, curiosity gets the better of them. Inside, they discover a basin filled with blood and the butchered remains of his previous victims. They drop the egg into the basin in shock. When the sorcerer sees the bloodied egg, he knows they've disobeyed him and murders them in turn. But one clever girl outsmarts him. In the forbidden room, she finds her sister's dismembered body and gathers the pieces into a basket. Covering herself in honey and feathers, she escapes disguised as a bird. This chilling tale weaves together themes of death and rebirth, a true nightmare from start to finish. The Poor Boy in the Grave tells the heartbreaking story of a young boy relentlessly mistreated by everyone around him, including his own parents. Labelled as stupid and failing at every task, he grows tired of the cruelty and decides to take his own life. One day, he overhears the farmer's wife claiming she has poison hidden under her bed, though in reality, it's a pot of honey she wants to keep for herself. Desperate, the boy sneaks in, eats the honey and waits for death, only to feel stronger from the nourishment. Still determined, he remembers another mention of poison, this time in the farmer's box. But, instead of poison, he finds Hungarian wine. Believing it will end his misery, he drinks it all and staggers to a churchyard, laying himself in a freshly dug grave. There, the cold night and the wine take their toll, and the boy never wakes again. This harrowing tale is a stark reminder of how neglect and cruelty can shatter a life. Next is the haunting tale of the girl without hands. It begins with a miller who strikes a deal with a strange man promising riches in exchange for whatever stands behind the mill. Thinking it's just an apple tree, the miller agrees, only to discover it's his own daughter, and the man is none other than the devil. 3 years later, the devil returns to claim the girl, but her purity and clean hands prevent him from taking her. Enraged, the devil threatens to take the miller instead unless he cuts off his daughter's hands. Terrified, the miller complies. However, the girl's tears fall onto her stumps, keeping them clean and pure, preventing the devil from claiming her. The girl's suffering doesn't end there. Mutilated and abandoned, she wanders the forest until a kind king eventually takes her in, offering her a chance at redemption and peace. While the story ends on a hopeful note, its imagery of betrayal and dismemberment leaves a chilling impression. And in earlier versions of this tale from around the world, the maiden's dismemberment occurs after she refuses the sexual advances of her father or brother, making the story even more unsettling. Frau Trude is a tale that blurs the line between morality and horror. Ignoring her parents' warnings, a curious girl ventures to the home of Frau Trude, a mysterious old woman rumoured to be a witch. Inside, she sees strange, eerie figures that fill her with fear. When the girl tries to flee, Frau Trude turns her into a block of wood and tosses her into the fire. The story ends abruptly, offering a brief yet horrifying glimpse into the supernatural. Unlike most Grimm tales, this one carries a touch of humour, albeit dark and unsettling. The boy who went forth to learn fear follows a boy who is completely incapable of feeling fear. Determined to understand it, he embarks on a journey filled with eerie and macabre encounters. One man suggests he spend the night beneath the gallows, where 7 hanged men still dangle from their ropes. When the wind causes their bodies to sway, the boy assumes they must be cold. He cuts them down, seats them by his fire and waits for them to warm up. When they remain motionless, even as their clothes catch fire, he grows frustrated with their lack of gratitude and hangs them back up. Later, he spends the night in a haunted castle where he casually plays 9-pin bowling with spirits, using human skulls as balls and dead men's legs as pins. This bizarre tale straddles the line between nightmare and absurdity, making it one of the strangest stories in the Brothers Grimm's collection. On the surface, the Goose Girl might seem like a typical fairy tale, but it's far darker than it appears. A young princess is betrayed by her maid while travelling to meet her future husband. The maid takes the princess's place, forcing her to live as a goose herder. The princess's talking horse is killed to keep the secret, but its decapitated head is mounted on a gatepost and continues to speak the truth. Eventually, the maid's deception is revealed, and she is punished in a gruesome manner, being dragged naked through the streets in a barrel lined with nails until she is dead. Not exactly the makings of a bedtime story. The Three Army Surgeons is a grotesque tale of arrogance and consequence. 3 travelling army surgeons, eager to impress an innkeeper, boast of their extraordinary skills by performing surgery on themselves. One cuts off his hand, another removes his heart, and the third plucks out his own eyes, confident they can reattach everything perfectly in the morning. That night, a young maid is entrusted with their severed body parts, but while she is distracted, the innkeeper's cat devours them. Terrified of being caught, she and her lover scramble to find replacements. They steal a thief's hand from the gallows, a heart from a butchered pig in the cellar, and the cat's eyes to complete the deception. At dawn, unaware of the switch, the surgeons reattach their organs and continue their journey. But soon, the horrifying consequences emerge. The doctor with the cat's eyes struggles to see. The one with the pig's heart begins rooting in the dirt like an animal, and the man with the thief's hand finds himself overcome with the urge to steal. This bizarre and unsettling tale is a darkly comedic warning about the dangers of arrogance and deception. In The Robber Bridegroom, a young woman discovers that her fiancé is hiding a horrifying secret. While visiting his home, she hides behind a barrel and watches in terror as he and his gang of robbers drag a young woman inside, sobbing and pleading for mercy. They force her to drink wine until she collapses and her heart bursts. Then they strip her naked, lay her on a table, and butcher her body piece by piece before devouring her flesh. As one of the men chops off a finger, it flies through the air and lands in the lap of the hidden bride-to-be. She waits in silent horror until the robbers fall asleep, then flees the house. At her wedding feast, she exposes her fiancé's monstrous crimes before the gathered guests, revealing the severed finger as evidence. This gruesome tale serves as a chilling reminder that true horror can lurk behind a charming smile. One of the most horrifying Grimm tales, The Juniper Tree, begins with a jealous stepmother who murders her stepson in cold blood. When the boy leans into a chest to fetch an apple, she slams the lid down on his neck, decapitating him instantly. Panicked, she props his severed head back onto his body and sits him in a chair to cover up the crime. When the boy's half-sister arrives and asks why he isn't speaking, the stepmother cruelly tells her to slap him. Obediently, the girl does as she's told, only for the head to fall off. Horrified, she believes she has killed her own brother. Seizing the opportunity, the stepmother butchers the boy's body, cooks his remains, and serves it to his unsuspecting father, who eats every bite. The devastated sister buries her brother's bones beneath a juniper tree, where a strange magic brings him back to life in the form of a bird. The bird soars through town, singing of its brutal murder, drawing the attention of the townspeople. In the end, the bird drops a millstone onto the wicked stepmother, crushing her to death, and the boy is miraculously restored to life. With its grisly imagery of cannibalism, murder and revenge, the Juniper Tree stands as one of the darkest and most unsettling tales in the Brothers Grimm's collection. And finally, How Some Children Played at Slaughtering is one of the most disturbing stories ever collected by the Brothers Grimm. So unsettling, in fact, that it was removed after the first edition and is omitted from most modern reprints as well. Part 1 follows a group of children playing a gruesome game of butcher and pig. One child takes on the role of the butcher, another is the pig. Without understanding the reality of his actions, the butcher slits the pig's throat with a real knife, killing him instantly. Shocked, the adults arrest the child and bring him before a judge. To test his innocence, the judge offers him an apple or a gold coin. When the boy takes the apple without hesitation, the judge deems him too naive to be held responsible and lets him go. The second tale is even more horrifying. Two young brothers watch their father slaughter a pig and decide to imitate him. The older brother takes a knife and slits the throat of his younger sibling. Their mother, hearing the screams, rushes to them, leaving her baby unattended in the bath. Overcome with horror and rage, she pulls the knife from her dead son's throat and in a blind fury stabs her eldest child in the heart. But in the meantime, the baby drowns in the tub. Realizing all her children are dead, she hangs herself. When the father returns from the fields and finds his entire family gone, he collapses and dies from grief. With its themes of mindless violence, innocence corrupted, and a family destroyed in a single tragic day, this tale reads less like a fairy tale and more like a horror story. And there you have it, 10 of the most nightmarish fairy tales ever collected by the Brothers Grimm. But which of them disturbed you the most? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed uncovering the dark, grisly origins of fairy tales, don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore the rest of my channel. See you in a future video.